So let's look at some blood work here so I can give you definitive proof of how fucking wrong the immunoassay total testosterone test is. Your total testosterone test might be wrong. So wrong that it's like useless to get it. But that is if you get the immunoassay total testosterone test. When we think about testing estradiol, we usually suggest testing estradiol sensitive because the regular estradiol picks up other things that make falsely high readings usually. It's actually pretty astounding the difference. You know, I've got one guy right now that's estradiol, it was like a week prior was at 25 picograms per milliliter, and that was estradiol sensitive. A week later on the same protocol, nothing changed. It's 79 picograms per milliliter, but that was regular estradiol, not estradiol sensitive. That should show people, right? Just how inaccurate the other tests are, like less efficient, hormone tests are versus the sensitive ones or the more accurate ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you proof of this, okay, on a sports TRT dose of 300 milligrams a week, 150 milligrams test enethate injected every 3.5 days. I got blood work with the proper total testosterone test, which we'll lay out in this video. And then about 8 or 9 days later, at 3/5, March 5th, I got another blood test, but using the less accurate total testosterone lab reading, and it is vastly different. And considering where I am in the sports TRT cycle, I shouldn't even be anywhere close to what this inaccurate second reading is. So I'm going to break this down for you guys because it's really important to know so that you can make adjustments, so that you can analyze where estradiol is going to be if you can't wait for the estradiol sensitive test, or you're in a pinch and you need to change a dose, or you're on vacation, need to change a dose. Like, it is important to know where total is, and it's important to have an accurate reading. What I want to do is reflect or just sort of illustrate for folks like how important it is to take the right hormone test so that you can have educated readings on how to make an educated decision. Before we start the video, Low Cortex Labs is a TRT guidance sexual dysfunction resolution and performance optimization company. We got a range of different products ranging from the source list, again, compilation of trusted sources for all anabolics, ancillaries, and hormone hacking agents, including 20% DHT gel testable esters, anything you can think of, a lot cheaper than anywhere else. Torque Stack, look, my history is in the neuropharmacology of nootropics for performance enhancement, and I built one. It is called Torque. It is very powerful. You can get that description of this video. Lastly, I'm a coach on TRT protocol restructuring as well as sexual dysfunction resolution. You can hire me for a one-off call with a protocol generation or one-on-one package. If you got the budget and you need hardcore help with sexual dysfunction, we need 3 or 6 months. You can do all that stuff in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, first off, let's just look at the generalized AI overview of testosterone. So this is pulling from various pieces of information on the web, which sort of distill exactly why the immunoassay total testosterone test is usually inaccurate or can be inaccurate. Okay, so Google's AI goes, testosterone immunoassays can be inaccurate, especially at low concentrations, due to factors like cross-reactivity with other similar steroids, possibly androstenediol and androstenedione, but predominantly DHEA. So, I mean, if you're dosing a lot of DHEA with your protocol, which, I mean, most people should be dosing some degree of DHEA with TRT, and you're getting the total testosterone immunoassay test, which, you know, gets your results a lot faster. You'll get results like the next day if you're going through Quest, and it's going to give you a false reading. And the immunoassay usually doesn't have the capacity to go above 1500, right? Above 1500, if you are above 1500 in total testosterone, the less fucking accurate it's ultimately going to be. What you want to be using when you're testing testosterone is the LCMS, and it's really all about the method. So the LCMS is a much more accurate version of total testosterone testing, where if you don't use it, you're going to get inaccurate numbers, and you can't like make protocol changes that are based on like real information to help you dial it in better. Now, it's really the method. It's the method that LCMS uses in order to test testosterone that makes it far more accurate than the immunoassay test. Total testosterone refers to a blood test that measures total testosterone levels using liquid chromatography and tandem mass spectrometry. This is a highly accurate method for assessing testosterone, particularly in individuals with lower levels like women, children, and hypogonadal men. Also, though, LCMS is what you want to test if you expect your total testosterone numbers to be above 1500. Yeah, which is a lot of us, like, you know, even running TRT doses at the peak, you're going to be 1500 or above 1500. Unless you're injecting, you know, micro amounts every day, you're probably going to be above 1500 at some point, especially at the peak. All right, so let's look at some blood work here so I can give you definitive proof of how fucking wrong the immunoassay total testosterone test is. So this was the first set of blood work collected. This was the 26th of February. Just keep that in mind, February 26th. This is after just about, I think it was 4.5 weeks of running 300 milligrams a week, 150 milligrams testosterone every 3.5 days. Total testosterone. Now, this is collected on the trough. It's collected on the 3.5 day, right? So if I injected Monday at 6 a.m. in the morning, then this was taken Thursday at like 5 p.m. I'm very, very particular about when to get blood work, and you should be too. I wanted to see, you know, where the trough was or where I was troughing and what that number is. I haven't gotten peaks, so I'm probably peaking at 2,500 to 3,000 on this dose. But for a brief period, my system tends to clear test after the peak pretty quickly, so then it goes down. Clocking in at 1,908, so 1,908 nanograms per deciliter of total testosterone. My free testosterone, here's what's really interesting. My free testosterone, you know, on this sports TRT dose is 486.5 picograms per milliliter, so substantially above range. It's pretty much where I expected it. This is actually higher than I expected. I expect, based on my patterns of previous blood work, for those numbers to be a little bit lower, maybe 1,400, 1,500, and like 350 or so free testosterone. But nonetheless, for whatever reason, it was slightly higher than I anticipated. Okay, so just about 2,000 and just about 500 free test. This is with the MS, the LCMS, again, the more accurate version of testosterone, again, taken February 26th. Now, for shits and giggles, and admittedly part of this was like to prove this as well as to have something to do content about, this was the testosterone total, free, bioavailable, as well as I got SHBG in there to see after the previous cycle and after running cream for a while and after fucking with DHT, you know, where exactly my SHBG is. But let's look at the total testosterone. This is, again, the inaccurate, the immunoassay, the less accurate version. This was collected on 3/5. This is why the dates are important. Previous one, February 26th. This is March 5th. So later on in the sports TRT cycle, where levels, if they're going to, you know, reach a more saturated steady state, would be slightly higher. Okay. Turns out on the less accurate total testosterone test, later where they should be higher, if this was actually fucking accurate, they're lower. It's 1,311, 1,311 nanograms per deciliter, whereas like 8 days prior, I was at 1,900 nanograms per deciliter. Like, fucking case in point, boys. Completely inaccurate. So inaccurate that it's off by 600 nanograms per deciliter. Think about how critical that is, right? If you're going to be making decisions on like how to change a dose, or if you need to change a dose, or where you estimate estradiol might be, or if you have a target number in mind, which for some people that's a good idea. You know, sometimes you know a target number to reach because you know where you aromatize at that target number. Some people, it doesn't really matter. This whole notion of chasing numbers is not really applicable everywhere, because some subset of individuals are going to require 300 milligrams a week of tests, and no, that is not steroid abuse. Here, the free testosterone is remarkably accurate, right? It's basically where it should be and where it was clocked at on the more accurate tests. At here, we're going 468, and on the LCMS, it was like 485, 486. So in terms of the total testosterone, the immunoassay got it completely wrong. Like, it just completely, like, moronically wrong. 600 nanograms per deciliter off. I mean, brother, how can I make changes and know where I'm at if I'm getting inaccurate blood readings? This is why I don't take this test, except for observational purposes. Yeah. I mean, like, dude, look at the difference between the two, and this one was taken later than that one. Okay. 226. All right. LCMS, accurate one, 1908. 3/5, immunoassay, inaccurate one, 1311, bro. Now, here's what's important about this. Like, if you don't know this, or if you just think, oh, I want to get the results faster and the immunoassay should be relatively fine, and this is the total testosterone that my doc prescribes or that is on whatever, discounted labs. It's cheaper wherever you get labs. You're going to go and get this test and get the results back, and they're going to be inaccurate. And then you're going to make changes or observations about your protocol that are not based in reality, which is you living in a land of make-believe effectively, and then making changes erroneously as a result of those fake numbers, believing that it's real. You don't want to do that. This is why it's so fucking critical regarding estradiol to know where you are by taking the estradiol sensitive, okay? Ultra sensitive, preferably. If you go on discountedlabs.com, they've got a sensitive and an ultra sensitive, and it's basically the same thing. It's always very accurate across the board. But if you get the regular estradiol test, I mean, it's almost always going to be inaccurate. Again, I've got a client right now, this close to being dialed in. Our last step is dialing in the frequency of aromasin, and we're fucking right there. And we have an estradiol sensitive at 25 picograms per milliliter, and then 1 week later, no change in anything. A regular estradiol without the sensitive assay, 70 something picograms. I think it was 79, like 80. Stark difference. Again, if you're using inaccurate hormone tests for testing, you are in the dark about how to change what in your protocol, whether it's dose, frequency, add an AI, donate, lower your, whatever. You're completely inaccurate. Just for shits and giggles, yes, I got my sex hormone binding globulin. It is right at that level where below which, for some folks they start to have issues. I personally don't have problems on low SHBG. It's been as low as 9 before. It's back up probably because I took a break from the cycle, didn't really run DHT all that much. It was just on 3 pumps of cream a day. Now though, considering I'm running 20% DHT gel as an experiment, kind of ongoingly with a little bit of a break and obviously higher doses of testosterone, that SHBG is probably going to be 10 or so, but I don't have any negative symptoms. So another thing to look at, like low SHBG is not necessarily an issue and doesn't mean you have to inject frequently either. Okay. Every 3.5 days. And my libido right now, pretty fucking consistent at this point. Check this out. All right. I'm going to bring us into a conversation with a client so we can actually look at this again, another example, but with estradiol. Okay, we'll blur out the names so that we don't have, we don't have people knowing what this is. But listen, he goes, well, now I'm thoroughly confused. Okay, my blood work back from Monday and E2 is all the way up to 79.5 picograms per milliliter. I feel pretty fucking good. I'm going to take the aromasin tomorrow, so I have an easy 7-day schedule to remember. Give it a few weeks and see what happens. I'm not sure how high my E2 would go without an AI, but I do think it should be lower. And then I go right away, knowing this, I go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's estradiol sensitive, right? This doesn't sound right because, in no way, shape, or form should someone's estradiol go from 25 to fucking 80, in it was like a week's time. It couldn't have been more than 2 weeks. Then he goes, no, look, the first test that I took, so the test when he was at 25 was with a different lab and it shows as ultra sensitive. All right. Look at this. Estradiol E2. This does not say sensitive. This does not say ultra sensitive. This is purely estradiol. 79.5. And then though, boys, right? This was just prior to this. It was like a week and a half prior. Estradiol ultra sensitive LCMS, right? The liquid chromatography mass tandem spectrometry, more accurate hormone test has him clocked in at 25 picograms per milliliter. Substantial difference. I mean, look at this. Like now you're going to make decisions if you didn't get this LCMS test, the ultra sensitive on estradiol, based on your 79 estradiol, you'd be like, I got to take an AI, right? Or I got to see if this bounces out. How's the sexual system? How's things out? Maybe we leave it alone. But, usually people do something about that. Some Masteron, some Primobolan, fucking use of aromasin or lower the dose or whatever people end up doing. Like if you did that and didn't get the LCMS ultra sensitive, you would have been making a mistake that would have kept you in a purgatory of not dialing in. I hope I've given you enough information to be fully convinced at this point. Like you want to take the extra time. Yes, it does suck because estradiol sensitive LCMS usually takes about 7 days, 8 days. I've had it take as long as 11 days to get the result back. And that sucks. When you're trying to dial in a protocol, especially if you're on a short acting ester, well, you can change it after 14 days or so. And if you've been on a protocol for 13 days, you get the test, you might, you'd rather have it by tomorrow or within a reasonable time frame, like 3 days, so that you can make a change. You know, at any point, like on using a long ester, yeah, I mean, if your estradiol is 79 and your dick is not working, like that might be something to change. You might want to bring some aromasin in or make some change to the protocol. But if you have to wait 9 days, it's like you ultimately have to wait 9 days. That's the point I'm trying to make. Do wait for it. Same thing with the total testosterone LCMS. It takes 7 to 10 days to get back, even from the most advanced labs, which I find a little erroneous, just a little ridiculous. Like Quest, really, LabCorp? Like, I mean, you guys, you can't get a test back to me in 4 days. Like, even if it's LCMS, like, you know, come on. The major point I want to drive home, aside from showing you proof that these tests are highly inaccurate, is don't make decisions on how to change your protocol based on highly inaccurate tests. With the estradiol, you need estradiol ultra sensitive, and with total testosterone you need total and free testosterone LCMS. Don't use the immunoassays and don't use general estradiol. You're going to get inaccurate readings and you're going to change protocols or do whatever, and that'll land you in a purgatory of never dialing in. Ryan Root has talked about this recently, where the immunoassay is completely inaccurate. I think they did an entire podcast on this, and I want to reinforce that idea with proof, blood work from 2 different situations on total test and estradiol to hammer that point home, boys. Forever in the time continuum, get the LCMS and the ultra sensitive. All right, look, as I said at the beginning, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization company specializing in a bunch of different things, mainly coaching on TRT. We do protocol restructuring where, for whatever reason, usually it's crappy protocols from clinics, or it's, you know, folks changing their protocols themselves and landing themselves in a mess, not giving a protocol enough time, not recognizing what they might need to bring in ancillary wise. I mean, look, some people need to be using Masteron. AIs cause problems, their estrogen's too high, they have crappy erections or libido problems. Masteron solves the problem. Some people need actual DHT alongside their testosterone because they're just not converting enough. That extra DHT is just enough of that antagonism at the genetic level and the receptor side of estradiol that their erections are killer again and everything works great and they've got adequate blood levels, usually super physiologic, of DHT. Anyway, to figure that out, you got to go through fact-finding process, and that's really what I'm good at, is finding out what is wrong and what to do about it. You can hire me for TRT protocol restructuring. It's a one-off call and a protocol generation, as well as, listen, ongoing sexual dysfunction, erection issues, libido issues. That takes time to resolve, potentially multiple protocols, but a lot of communication back and forth, and me redesigning and restructuring your entire hormone protocol. 3-month, 6-month, or 1-year package. Those are for people with the budget who want to get down to business, don't want to fuck around, and want to get shit straight. You can hire me for any of that stuff in under a minute at livecortex.com. Source list. If you need to take matters into your own hands, whether it's regarding 20% DHT gel, Proviron, HCG for way cheaper, test for way cheaper, test of all esters, other anabolic compounds, just get the source list and circumvent everything. You know, stop fucking around and wasting time not being dialed in or not feeling how you want to feel. Again, the way that I feel on 20% DHT gel is like, should be illegal. Brother, I mean, my confidence level is like up here, whereas it's normally maybe here. The average person is down here. Imagine what this fucking feels like. Living life at the highest levels, boys. Get the source list. Torque Stack, again, my history is in the neuropharmacology of nootropic agents, particularly for CEOs. That's what I did for many, many years. I consulted these people. I built one at the end of it. It is called Torque, and it is exceptionally strong, and you can get it down in the description of this video. You will like this stack. All right. Brother. Thank you for watching my content. I appreciate the fact that you've been with me. Like the video, makes a huge difference, man. If you feel like you owe me anything for giving out free content, which I don't think you necessarily do, but just to be a cool guy, but please, like, if you want to do something for me, hit the like button. It really makes a fucking difference. Sub to the channel if you're new. We talk about all this stuff, TRT, HRT, sexual function, libido, erection optimization, all day, every week, live streams on Saturdays, every week, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Hit that sub button, brother. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Rock on, kick ass. And I'll talk to you boys on the next one.